Hey guys, it's Protendo, and I think we can all agree that shops are one of Animal Crossing's greatest strengths. Seeing any sort of building in your tiny town, or now island, is such an exciting feeling because the store now acts as a beacon of life in what's otherwise a relatively laid back and unexciting village. Even better is building a new landmark yourself because the player gets to feel even more involved. They're truly an essential and irreplaceable part of the series. I've often sung Animal Crossing New Leaf's praises in a multitude of ways, but until now, I've hardly mentioned what I believe to be one of its greatest assets, being Main Street. For those who aren't aware, Main Street was a location in Animal Crossing New Leaf that was accessed by walking past your town's train tracks. The area included a bunch of different shops, buildings, and even gives you access to additional smaller areas like the Happy Home Showcase. And I firmly believe that this street alone takes New Leaf from an 8 out of 10 game to the 10 out of 10 that it currently is. Might sound like I'm overselling it, but Main Street is such a crucial part of Animal Crossing New Leaf's experience, and I'll explain why. First off, and most obviously, you've got the amount of content on display here. It is genuinely insane how much there is to do on Main Street once it's fully upgraded. Just to name a few of its buildings, you've got the Nookling Shop, Kix, the Able Sisters, the Museum, Nook's Homes, and the glorious Club LOL. Each shop or building on Main Street offers something entirely different from the rest, making each and every one of them worth your while. Animal Crossing fans often talk about a daily routine, things that the player normally aims to do every day. New Leaf has the most developed and interesting routine by far, and Main Street is a major reason as to why that is. You get to check the Nookling store for new furniture and fortune cookies, head over to the museum to have your fossils inspected or to donate new bugs and fish, run over to Club LOL to learn a new reaction, check the garden shop for some new flowers or bushes. It's all super engaging stuff, and the pure amount of it means that there's less autopilot than in most Animal Crossing games, since you can do these numerous activities in any order you want, or even designate certain ones to different days if you don't see them as all being that important. But before I continue the Main Street praise, there's something else that I have to touch on that I'm sure is on many of your minds. Protendo, what about the city? For newer Animal Crossing fans who don't know, the city was a location in Animal Crossing City Folk that, in concept, was very similar to Main Street. It was also a secondary location you could visit that hosted a multitude of shops and buildings. But I still think that Main Street is a better take on what the city tried to accomplish. Sure, one could argue that the city was better designed from a visual standpoint. The way the shops all circle around the fountain is super charming, and for the most part, Main Street is just a straight line. You know, like a street. And I do like how the city had certain characters like Kix and Phineas who weren't stuck inside a building and actually did business outside, since it helped make the place feel really alive. But aside from those two things, I think Main Street improves on almost every aspect. It has more to do, more characters within it, better roles for some of said characters like how Kix now owns a store, and also a much more bearable loading screen. In City Folk, you had to board the bus to get to the city, something that was only bearable because of Cap'n being the bus driver. It truly made the city feel like a far-off place in contrast to where your town was, which was definitely intended, but doesn't make it the most enjoyable place to get to. New Leaf, on the other hand, has one short loading screen between your town and Main Street, the transition taking place on the stairs behind the train tracks. I much prefer this, not only because it's a lot faster, but also because of what it adds to the atmosphere of the game. By having Main Street be connected to your town, the player's appreciation for the laid-back feeling of the small village is only increased because of the contrast between the two areas. And Main Street never oversteps its boundaries by becoming overly commercial. It still feels like a small-town shopping center. But there's one more thing that Main Street does better than the city, and it's a major one. Progression. At this point, you guys must be tired of hearing this word coming out of my mouth since I literally bring it up in every Animal Crossing video. Progression this, progression that, yada yada yada, but hear me out, okay? Main Street in New Leaf is quite literally a physical manifestation of the player's own progression, which is executed near perfectly. It starts off as this small little area with very little to do. All that's really available is the tiny Nookling Junction, the Able Sisters, Nook's Homes, and the museum. But through a combination of shop upgrades and building unlocks, it becomes this huge, major landmark of your town with tons of different shops and characters. And like I said, the execution feels nearly flawless. The pacing is so good. It doesn't take you long to unlock stuff like the first couple of Nookling upgrades and kicks, but then buildings like Katrina's Fortune Shop or the Dream Suite can take a really long time to get built. It always felt like there was something to work towards with Main Street, like there's always something new to accomplish, which is so Animal Crossing and so amazing. The music is also great in how it progresses alongside the street. It begins as this tiny little tune, but then grows into a theme that really captures the upgraded shopping area. And I'll be honest, I like the music here more than the city. That is absolutely the most controversial thing I'll say in this video, but it's true. It's like pure coziness being injected into my veins. But anyways guys, that's about it for this video of me praising a very specific aspect of one of my favorite games ever. As always, I'd love to hear what you think. Is Main Street as amazing as I claim it to be, or am I completely overselling what's essentially a giant collection of loading screens? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all later. Protendo, out.